Grand Rising everyone, and welcome back to another YouTube video. So I wanted to go over today some questions. So I put up this story on my Instagram the other day, giving out some just advice or whatever, and I got a lot of questions. And a lot of these questions, I can type an answer to, but I feel like just talking about it is much more efficient, and I can actually provide some nuance to some of these things as well. So we have quite a few here, so I'll probably just go through, some of the, I feel, better kind of questions. So the first one here is from Connor. How do you progress with your lifts without following a strict set routine? So basically, progression, most people think of progression, especially when it comes to, lifting, is more ways. But there's more than just, that one way to progress. Obviously, that's the most objective way to progress. If you're doing, say, 100 pounds on a bench press, and then the next time you're doing 110, it's pretty easy to measure that progression, right? But you can progress in more than just your weight. You can progress with the execution of the movement in terms of aligning the force with your muscle fibers, and depending on what you want to do out of a specific movement, this may be a much better option for muscle growth than just increasing the overall weight. So increasing the execution, or improving the execution, and other things like your tempo, controlling the weight is a massive one as well, depending on if you're, again, these are all nuanced depending on your goal, and your training style is going to be dependent on what your goal is. So if you want to just put on muscle mass, you're going to train very differently than if you're just trying to be and move the most amount of weight, say like powerlifting. It's a very different type of training style, and you can see this with bodybuilders, and you can see this with, like, say, powerlifters. The way they train is completely different, right? So it's really goal specific, what you're actually trying to achieve. So the execution, the tempo, the amount of repetitions you are actually doing, and the total volume is another way you can progress. So the best way that I like to progress without following like a strict routine is, let's say I do 10 repetitions of the bicep curl, right? Then at 20 kilograms or 45 pounds, right? So I do 20 kilograms for 10 repetitions, and then the next time I do this, maybe instead of trying to go for 22.5, which would be the next dumbbell, or 50 pounds, I'd try to get 11 repetitions, right? And then just kind of remembering in your head how much you did last time, or you can write it down in a notebook. That's usually more accurate than remembering it off the top of your head. You can use like an application that tracks the weight and volume and things that you're doing, and then you can always aim to progress that way. That's how I typically do it, is I try to increase the volume, obviously every time with as close to perfect execution as I can get. And then once I feel like I'm about, say my goal is 10 repetitions, and I do 11 the next week, and the following week I do 12, the next week after that it's 13, then I would probably go and up the weight and then progress like that. And it's called a double progression scheme. So you're progressing in the repetitions, and you're progressing in the weight. So that's what I would do. And yeah, I don't really follow a specific strict routine. Again, my goal isn't to get to a specific number on a specific lift. It's more so just to be as healthy as possible and be capable in all planes of movement. So that's the way that I train, which may be applicable to you, but it may not be what you're trying to do. So, this is what I do, and that's the question. So next one here from Luke. If someone goes hard 3 months enough to transform. So I think what it means is, if someone aligns themselves properly and goes hard enough, is 3 months actually enough to transform their physique? That's what I'm assuming this question means. Yeah, it definitely is, and it depends like what the transformation you're looking to get is, but 100% 3 months is a lot of time, and if you actually dedicate a lot of energy towards something, you're going to make progress a lot faster, right? So like, you'll see guys make insane transformations or progress with, let's say, their physique in 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, whatever, because they fully focus on improving that area, right? And then you can also see other guys that make some progress and then not so much, plateau a lot over like 10 years. And it may just because, either A, they're not putting enough energy into this transformation, it may not be the highest priority for them, or B, they don't have the actual knowledge to align themselves properly to their goal, or C, they just don't have the accountability to continuously do it and go hard enough consistently over a period of time. So that can cause, slowed progress or no progress at all. So yeah, 3 months is definitely enough to transform. Like in my coaching protocol, I have guys in there between 3 months, 6 months, and every single guy in there is making massive transformations with their health, with their physique, of course, and energy levels, and many other different metrics you can measure progress on. But 100%, 3 months is definitely enough to transform. Is eating or drinking pasteurized dairy okay if I'm currently not able to get it raw? I would probably just avoid it. It says, or should I avoid it? I'd probably just avoid it if you can't get raw dairy. Most of the time, it depends on how well you tolerate it. So if you do tolerate pasteurized dairy quite well, it doesn't upset, your digestive system or anything like that, then by all means you can go for it. But most people in large, or moderate to large quantities, it is going to have a bit of an effect on your digestive system, and a little bit of disruption is going to happen in there, simply because you don't really have enough of the lactase enzyme to digest the lactose, right? So that's why raw dairy is one of the benefits of raw dairy. It actually has the enzyme in there so you can digest it properly. So I'd always go for raw dairy, and when I'm traveling around and I can't find raw dairy, I just skip the dairy for that location, until I'm into another area where I can find raw dairy. And there's a website called getrawmilk.com. I'll link it below in the description, and if you use that, you can find your closest raw dairy source. And again, there's other ones you can get it from other places that aren't listed on that website, and you can just ring up dairy farmers around your general area and ask them, be like, hey, I want to get some unpasteurized milk for my dog, my vet has requested it, whatever, make up some excuse. Don't really say it's for you or human consumption, because it may be illegal, and then that might deter farmers from selling it because it's a bit of a risk for them, right? And they don't know you. So, developing a relationship with the farmer, rancher, whatever it may be, so that you can get, unpasteurized dairy, that would probably be my option if you can't find any on getrawmilk.com. I need help getting back on my feet after an intense 3 months of anxiety and depression. Okay, so to fix this, I've seen this a lot with guys that I've worked with, and just the general population, especially now. A lot of people they're struggling mentally, right? So I find the biggest way to fix this and no longer suffer from this disease or affliction or whatever you want to call it is start really focusing on the present moment. Because in my opinion, what depression is you're focusing way too much on the past, and you're thinking about what you did wrong, and you're kind of mulling over everything that's gone wrong, maybe in your life, in your career, and your relationships, or whatever it may be that's causing you trouble, and you're focusing and living mentally and putting mental energy into the past. And what anxiety is, in my opinion, is the same thing, but into the future. So you're worried about the future, you're not sure what's going to happen, and that uncertainty is causing this anxiety. And when you're living in both these two states of time, in the past and the future, you're not able to put as much mental energy into the present moment and make the most of the present moment, right? So instead of using 50% of your mental energy on the past, and maybe 5% on the present and 45% on the future, shift it. So you're spending 2% on the past, maybe 5-10% on the future. Obviously you kind of want to plan ahead and what you're actually going to accomplish, and then majority, at least 90% on the present moment, and just be present in the moment and do everything right now that is going to ensure that you succeed in the future, depending on whatever your goal may be. So that's what I would suggest in terms of how to fix this, and then taking action. Because when you're taking action and when you're doing something, you're not going to be thinking about the future, you're not going to be thinking about the past, you're going to be thinking about what you're doing in the present moment. So a good example for this is the gym. So a lot of people say, oh, the gym helps with my mental health, which is true, right? And I feel like the main reason it does this is because you're fully focused on the present moment. You're not thinking about the past, you're not thinking where you fucked up in your last relationships, You're not thinking about, you know, your future, your career, and maybe where you might fall short in the future. You're just focusing on that training session, right? And you can extrapolate this idea and this ideology into everything that you do and just fully focus on the present moment. So again, taking your mental state out of the future, out of the past, and into the present moment is going to fix this issue. So I hope that helps with that. And when you do this and you actually be accountable to doing this every single day, you'll very quickly find in a matter of a couple of days, a week, you know, you'll be no longer afflicted by or affected by this affliction, right? Struggling, growing triceps, getting huge arms. You're probably not training them properly, you know. So with your tricep, most guys, they're lacking in the long head of the tricep, which is this bit that hangs down, you know, the back side, and that is really like most of your tricep. So if you're not training triceps in the proper plane of motion to bias the long head, they're not really going to look very large, or they're not going to have a lot of mass, because you're just not biasing that section of that particular muscle, right? And this is the same for everywhere in your body. You want to really understand the biomechanics and your own anatomy, so then when you do set up your training protocol or your exercises or whatever, you're setting it up in a way to fix these like weak points, right? Whether it's your triceps, whether it's your upper chest, which is like most guys, whether it's your vastus medialis, like the teardrop muscle on your quad. You know, these are all like areas that people struggle with, but then they don't understand how to actually grow it, right? So you need to set up your exercises in a specific way so that you're setting them up to bias that particular area of that muscle, right? So let's say it's the vastus medialis. You know, you'd be setting things up that are going, you're setting up your quad exercises for full knee flexion. So like when you're doing a squat, you're not just going to parallel, you're going to where your heel is basically touching your glutes, you know what I mean? And you're getting that full knee flexion, because that full knee flexion of the movement, that is going to bias that vastus medialis more than the vastus lateralis on the outside, which is more so going to be biased through the, you know, 0 to 90 degree range, rather than like that 90 to 180 kind of range. That's more so the medialis. And then same with the tricep, you know, you want to be doing more overhead tricep movements and increasing the angle between your humerus here and basically your torso. So the bigger this angle here is, the more it's going to bias that long head of the tricep. So that's typically the biggest thing I see with guys training the triceps or just training the whole body in general, is they don't really understand the biomechanics and how to set up, you know, their exercises and things to fix these issues with their physique. Next one, how long you been sober? So probably, well, when I was in Sweden a few months ago now, I had a couple glasses of mead, which was good fun with some good friends. But before that, probably 2 years, I haven't really seen the need to drink or do anything. You know, I can enjoy myself, I can have fun without drinking alcohol. I don't really see the point, especially, you know, with the health implications, and it's going to detriment your sleep and everything like that. But if you want to drink alcohol, by all means, if you enjoy it, that's fine. Like, I don't really have an issue with it, but I just personally don't. But then again, like if I'm with a bunch of friends and, you know, we're a special occasion, like we're in midsummer for Sweden, you know, I had a couple glasses of, you know, nice organic mead, which was good fun, right? Raw milk, yes or no? Yes. How do you set up a 72-hour fast? I'm just going to link down below. I have a fasting protocol. You can get it for free. I'll just link it down below, and then that's going to break it down exactly what to do for a 72-hour fast. What do you eat, drink before, during, and after? It's basically water and a shitload of electrolytes, and then incorporating bone broth afterwards. But I'll link the actual full protocol down the bottom. I'm actually about to start a 72-hour fast tonight. So I'll probably document that as well. When this video comes out, I've probably already completed it. So you'll see on my like Instagram stories or whatever, the shifts and what I'm actually doing to do it. But if you just want to get the protocol like in written form, I'll just link it down below. And again, it's free. You can just download it. Is bench press the best exercise for developing your chest? No, it's probably, again, there's nuance for all of these questions, right? So like, in terms of developing your chest, if you mean muscle growth? No, it's probably one of the worst ones. If for developing your chest you mean getting stronger on bench press, it's probably the best one, right? And it depends on what area of your chest you're trying to grow and how you're executing that movement, right? The best place you've ever been, probably one of my favorite places in the world is Noosa, and in particular Granite Bay, which is, you know, a bay in the national park in Noosa in the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia. Lovely place. Also Esperance in Western Australia, another national park just there. It's got some French name, but the beaches there are amazing. Probably one of the best places I've also been. On this side of the world, so I'm currently in Dubai. It's nice here as well. Best places, Montana in America. That's one of my favorite places as well. You have the mountains, you have the lake, forests, bears, everything. It's pretty awesome. Where else? South of France is nice. Sweden's also very nice, and up north in the forest again. How do you train for vertical jump? You basically want to increase your explosive capacity through that range, right? And that's not going to be so much the vastus medialis. It's going to be more so the lateralis and the glute that's actually giving you that explosive power. So you'd train in an explosive manner through that range of motion that you'd use when you're jumping, right? So think when you're jumping, you usually don't squat all the way to the floor and have your ass touching the ground, right? You kind of squat halfway down and then explode up. So I would train that movement and train that explosion, that explosive movement. What free online place can I connect with other based and real people want to network? Instagram, right? Or Twitter. Twitter's actually probably better. And then, you can start posting your own ideas. And if it aligns with other people, which it probably will, you can start to form relationships with these people, right? And it's not going to happen overnight in like a day. But after a few months and, actually putting yourself out there, then people can start to connect with you, and you can make these connections with people all around the world, right? I'd say Twitter is probably the best in terms of substance. Instagram's good as well, but I'd say Twitter's probably better. There's also obviously like paid communities and things like that, and those are the best. And again, you get a higher caliber of person per se because they're actually willing to invest into their health and into their knowledge. So the people that do invest, they're actually there and they're going to see it through, right? Whereas people just wanting the free stuff and things like that, again, that's fine, but maybe they're not as deep down the rabbit hole or as committed to making this, a real part of their life and their existence. Do you recommend eating croissants daily? I just had a lovely pain au chocolat this morning, which is a chocolate croissant. Probably not eating them daily. Again, it depends on your goal. It depends on how healthy you are, how insulin sensitive you are. I'm happy eating croissants daily. If I'm in France, I eat croissants every day. But typically I wouldn't. But, if there's a nice French bakery and I go past, I'm getting a croissant. I like croissants. Again, they're probably not the most healthy thing, but if you get proper... you get croissants made with proper ingredients like butter. They're not using margarine. They're using, organic flour. They're using like proper ingredients in this. You're going to really minimize the, say, negative effects that you'd get from, say, a croissant that you'd get from your local supermarket, which is going to be filled with a bunch of crap to make it last as long as possible. A proper real croissant, you want it like, the best way to do this is you go for an ocean swim at like 5 in the morning, and then you find a French bakery close to the ocean, and then you go there straight afterwards as they're pulling the croissants out of the oven. And they're super fresh and they're super good and nice and warm after your nice cold swim in the morning. That's the best possible croissant experience in my experience. So that's what I probably recommend. But again, obviously you have to find a French bakery, you have to find a nice ocean, and then make it all line up. If that is something that interests you, I can give you a great spot for that in Perth, Australia. But yeah, on to the next one. Does having a stronger neck help with posture and subsequently energy? Yes, for sure. It definitely helps with your posture and your overall energy output because your posture, conveys your energy. If you're like a little like goblin person and you just like kind of sit and walk around and like this, your aura, your energy field is very compromised. But if you're strong, you're sitting up straight and you're standing up straight, and when you walk around, your energy is much higher and you're going to attract a much better energy, and your strength in your neck and your posterior chain is really going to help with that. Fluoride-free water when you travel. Basically just get mineral water or spring water. That you just don't drink the tap water, right? Again, and then there's also some other ones, like people always cry to me that San Pellegrino or San Pelle's has fluoride in it, but apparently that fluoride is naturally occurring. It's not like the fluoride added into tap water and things like that, so it's not actually harmful from what I've heard, right? But just don't drink the tap water. It's pretty simple. How do you fix your posture? There's just so much nuance in this, right? So train your upper back, train your posterior chain, train your posture, train actually sitting up straight, train standing up straight, and consciously reprogram it. So then subconsciously you're just going to have good posture anyway. Again, this could be like a whole entire video, which maybe I'll do, on how to go from, say, 0 goblin mode posture all the way to 100 of like perfect Chad posture, you know. How many eggs per day? It depends on how many eggs you want to eat and what your goal is. Anywhere from like, I'd probably do 4 to 10 per day. If I even have eggs, some days I just have steak or ice cream, you know, or croissants. Like, it depends on what your goal is. You can eat shitloads of eggs. You can eat, you know, look into Vince Gironda's 36 eggs a day diet. You can eat loads of eggs and it's actually really healthy for you. They have a lot of cholesterol, and cholesterol is a good thing. Perma bulking, still not happy with muscle mass, but hate having a lot of body fat. Cut. And you kind of answer your own question, right? So if you're not happy with something but you hate the other thing, probably go for the thing that you're not happy with, you know. And if you're probably never going to be satisfied with this mindset, right? Because when you get cut or lean or whatever, you're probably going to think you don't have enough muscle mass, right? And chances are you probably do, and it's fine, you know. Like, it's more so like a mental thing. It's like a body dysmorphia, you know. But yeah, probably cut. I feel like being lean all of the time and just slowly building muscle mass, that's the best way and the healthiest way to do this. Maybe it's not the fastest way, say for like bodybuilding where you're bulking and cutting. That's probably the fastest, but it's not the healthiest way, right? So you want to do something that's healthy, that makes you feel great, you look great, you know, and you can do it long term. So I'd say staying lean and then slowly building from there is the best way to do it. What would an ideal day of eating look like? What foods and what times to eat? I'm just going to make another video on this. Acne on my face, natural product recommendations. Don't use products. The only thing would probably be like gordita, like or just like tallow. You don't have to use this one. This is the one I use. My friend Michaela makes this. If you do want it, I can link it below. I will link it below, but yeah, tallow would probably be the only thing I actually put on my face. This one's got zinc inside of it, non-nano zinc oxide, so this is a good one when I'm out in the Dubai sun and the UV is like 14. I'd use this, but typically just a normal tallow. You can make it yourself. If you want a guide on how to make it yourself, I'll link that below as well, and you can use it, or make it yourself and use it, or you can just buy it from, you know, a trusted brand like Michaela's, Gordita Skincare. I think it's gordita.ca. But most of your acne is going to be fixed by your overall lifestyle, and more importantly, your nutrition and your light environment, right? So making sure you're eating whole foods, making sure you don't have any gut disturbances going on, because that's where 90% of the time skin issues arise from, is some sort of gut dysbiosis or some sort of gut dysfunction, right? Making sure you're getting adequate sunlight as much as you possibly can, that's going to fix a lot of your acne as well. So I'd just say aligning your body to the natural environment and the natural food sources of the world as well, rather than just trying to lather on more and more products to try fix it from the outside. It's much better to fix it from the inside, and then it's going to be gone. And you're treating the root cause rather than treating, you know, the symptoms. The symptom is acne. The root cause is probably something wrong with your gut. So that's what I'd probably look at doing. Do you drink your raw milk with some raw honey? Yes, that's a very good little milkshake. I prefer it with some real, like, organic maple syrup. That's the best. Raw milk with some maple syrup, perfect. Is it healthy if you replace sugar with honey and pastries if the other ingredients are good? 100%. Again, healthy. I don't know if it's the most healthy thing, but it's going to be nice. It's going to be hopefully made with love, homemade sort of thing. My girlfriend makes us, muffins and things all the time, and cookies and stuff, and they're made with, real ingredients, and they taste super good, and, I enjoy them. Should I exit Instagram? I spend a lot of time on this. If you have to ask that question, then probably yes, right? In the world now, in social media, you have 1% of people creating and 99% of people consuming. The 1% of people creating are getting a net positive from social media most of the time. Again, this is a generalization. The other 99% that are consuming are having a net negative experience from social media. Again, a generalization. But if you're only consuming, chances are you're not going to be having, it's not going to be having a net positive effect on your life and on whatever your goals may be. So I'd say either start creating or stop consuming, right? And deleting it or exiting or whatever you want to call it is a great way to, make that choice for you, right? And then you can't use it if you don't have it. I'd probably recommend that. Jobs to do in the meantime while you build something on the side for yourself. Okay, this is a really good question. To answer this properly, basically what you want to do is you need to think, what is the thing that you want to do for yourself, right? Let's say, what's a good example? Let's say you want to build an e-commerce store, right? What you want to do, the job that you want to do, you want to learn skills from that job that's going to be beneficial to this thing that you want to do for yourself. So say if it's an e-commerce store, right? You probably want to get a job that has something to do with marketing. You want to do some sort of job that has something to do with website building. You want to do a job that has something to do with product placement, advertising, those sort of things. You don't want to do a job that's like waitering, right? They're both going to achieve, making money to get by and while you're building this thing. But one of the options that is actually a useful skill to what you want to do in your life is going to be a benefit to getting to this goal faster, right? Let's say you want to start your own service-based business, right? I'd probably recommend, if you know what the service may be, let's say it's like coaching, right? If you already have the expertise on coaching and that side of it's fine, that's cool. Continue to build up the coaching business, and then in your day job or whatever it may be, do like sales or do marketing. Do something that's going to benefit your business or your idea that you want to bring to the world. And then you can do it while someone else is paying you to learn these things, rather than doing it on your own dime. When you do finally launch this thing yourself, you can learn all these lessons from someone else's side of the business. And if that's a lesson on how not to do it or on how to do it, that's going to benefit your thing that you want to actually build, right? So that's the best, at least in my opinion, way to pass the time or make money and while you're building your thing up to escape velocity, is learn skills that are relevant to what the business or whatever it is that you're wanting to do. And then don't spend your time learning skills that aren't relevant to it, right? What's your advice to someone in a couple easy steps to get their life back on track? This guy's in a rut. So basically, identify what you actually want in your life, list it out, and then say, why do I want that? And then understand what this is actually going to achieve for you, emotionally, spiritually, materialistically, whatever the thing is that pushes your buttons. Understand why you actually want this thing in the first place, right? And then start listing out things that you need to do to actually achieve that. And then have this list of the things you want to do, see what you're currently doing and see if there's any differences. And chances are there probably are. Start taking action like this person that's going to be building this thing that they want to have. So just start focusing on the present moment again. Don't think about the future. Don't live in the future. Don't live in the past. Live in the present moment and spend your time getting yourself out of this rut instead of spending your time looking at how deep the rut is and wondering if you can ever get out. Just start trying to dig your way out. You know what I mean? And start taking action on this. And then if you understand what the end point is, what the goal actually is, then you can start making steps towards it. But if you have never defined what you actually want, you're never going to get there, right? Because you're just going to start going in circles and all over the place. And just by chance, you might hope that you end up in this place that you want to get. But if you don't know where you want to get, you're never going to get there, right? So define what the end point is and start taking action towards it on a daily basis, even if it's something as small as like reading 5 pages of a marketing book if you want to be good at marketing, or whatever the example may be, right? How do you manage anxiety? If you have any, of course. No, I probably wouldn't say I do. But again, anxiety is when you're living in the future. Sorry, your mental state is in the future and it's focusing on the future and it's not happy with the outcome. If your mental state is in the future and you're really excited for the outcome, you're not going to have anxiety about it, right? And that excitement or that fear for the future comes from what you're doing right now. So if you're doing everything, and truly to yourself, you know you're doing everything in your power to get to where you want to go, you're never going to have anxiety. But when you start glossing over things and say skipping your training, skipping, some work because you want to play video games or you want to watch the new Soyflix episode, that's when anxiety is going to arise, because you know deep down you're not doing everything to get you to where you want to go. So you're going to fear the future because you know what it's probably going to look like based off your current actions. So change your current actions and then you're going to never have anxiety again. Why eggs in here? Watch the video. I'll actually, why the eggs in the hair, I'll link again a full-on document explaining why to have the eggs and why to use eggs compared to a conventional shampoo. How seriously should we avoid plastic? We ingest so much, it's wild, but it feels impossible. Stop using plastic bottles, stop cooking in plastic pans, stop heating food up in plastic, that's going to be the majority of it. Stop wearing plastic clothing, stop sleeping in plastic sheets, stop rubbing plastic chemicals onto your skin, into your hair, stop brushing your teeth with plastic, stop having plastic in every corner of your life. And I know that's rich because I'm standing on plastic grass right now, but you want to try and naturalize your life as much as possible and your environment, and just remove all the ways plastic's coming in. And people will say, oh, it's not that much plastic, because if it's just like, say, your gum, that's plastic. Traditional gum is plastic, right? If it's just the gum, then that's not that much plastic. But if it's the gum, your toothbrush, your water, your sleeping, like your bed sheets, your clothes, everything, it's going to add up to quite a lot, right? So just stop ingesting so much plastic. Get a mastic gum. I use Greco gum. Again, if you want that, I can link it down below as well. But just stop having so much plastic in your life and you're going to vastly reduce the amount of plastic you have in your system. Trim the belly fat. Again, a very vague question, but most of them are. So to trim the belly fat, I would probably start aligning your life with the natural world. Your body doesn't want to hold excess fat. Stop eating compromised food. Stop living in a compromised environment. Start living outside as much as possible. Start getting as much sunlight as possible, and you're going to get leaner. Start having real fluids. Have real coffee. Like when I go to America, I'm like amazed. These people, like, they're having, say, like a Dunkin' Donuts coffee, and it's this big, and half of it is sugar, like sugar syrups and literal granulated sugar, and then like a little bit of coffee, and then some like fake almond milk or something, right? Just have an espresso shot, or like an espresso shot with water, and then it's a black coffee. It's like little things like this, little changes you can make to trim your belly fat and overall all the fat on your body. And, this is going to achieve it. And just start being accountable to doing this, right? And stop falling victim to advertising and marketing and instant pleasure that you're going to get from the lazy lifestyle. Like you see, if you've seen the movie WALL-E, all the like super fat people, and they're in their little like, I don't know, chair things, and they kind of float around. They don't have to move at all, right? And they're all super fat. That's literally what a lot of the world is like now, because it's just such a low effort to get what they want, whether that's, the Dunkin' Donuts shake, or fast food delivered to your door, or instant entertainment via Soyflix straight to your eyes. You don't have to work for anything anymore. So start actually doing things to earn these treats or whatever, you know what I mean? What deodorants do you use or recommend? Honestly, no conventional deodorant or sprays or anything like that is going to be good for your overall health. They have so many endocrine disruptors in them, fragrances, things like this, that is going to harm your endocrine system and your actual hormone production. But there is one that is actually good that I use. It's like the roll-on like sticks, and they're made of like essential oils. And my friend Sobriety makes them, and again, he's just restocked them as well, so I'll link it down below if you do want to get a natural deodorant. That's where I get like my shorts from, that's where I get a lot of my clothes from, is high quality, you know, natural products, and the same with your deodorant. How to fix protruding stomach / weak transverse abdominis, or TVA. Thanks, mate. Well, Daniel, how you're going to fix this is you're going to strengthen your transverse abdominis, right? So you're going to want to start training it, and training it by doing vacuums. I'll make a video on how to do vacuums and like give you a step-by-step guide on how to actually do this, rather than just kind of saying it very quickly on here. But basically what you want to do is start training it for longer and harder periods and longer and harder contractions of your transverse abdominis. So basically you breathe out all the way, and then pretend you're going to breathe in through your nose, but pinch your nose, and you'll feel it suck in, right? And that's the transverse abdominis contracting. And then once you get that feeling, you can start training it without doing the nose pinching thing, right? So you basically exhale all your air, and then pull it in, and then hold it, you know, for as long as you can. At the start, it's not going to be for very long, and then over time, you're going to be able to hold it like harder and deeper for longer, and that's going to fix this issue. And then protruding stomach, it can be the transverse abdominis, and it can also be like your hips are tilted forward and your posture's not very good, and that's why it's kind of sticking out. That could be another issue you'd probably want to look at, and it could be the relation of how tight or how strong certain muscles are that are pulling on your hip, and making sure that everything is, you know, as even as kind of possible to fix the pelvic tilt issue. I got food poisoning. How do I fix my gut biome? So I literally, again, just made a guide on this, how to recover from stomach sickness, right? Like food poisoning. Basically, you just want to mega hydrate and make sure you're extremely hydrated, because that's the main issue with these food sort of poisoning things, is as your body is detoxing this parasite or whatever has caused this issue, you're going to be losing a lot of fluids, right? And you're going to be losing a lot of electrolytes. So making sure that you're replenishing those electrolytes is going to be a key factor, and slowly introducing foods that are going to build up your gut microbiome is what you want to do after, you know, this is passed, which will take, you know, a day, 2 days, 3 days maybe. But I'll link below an entire guide on how to do this. And with a lot of these questions, you know, I have guides for them already. So I don't know if you guys are seeing the guides that I do make, and then I just put them out for free, and you can just download them, and it answers a lot of these questions. So, you know, I'll link these ones below that have been in these questions here, and I'll also maybe start posting them more on my stories so you guys can actually see them. But yeah, there's more questions here, but I feel like we're at like 40 minutes now, so I feel like we've probably answered enough questions for one video. And yeah, so I'll see you on the next one. I hope you enjoyed it, and remember to stay vital.